Corps of Engineers come up with a plan for temporary diking around this community, and the only way to protect it with the forecasted river levels, flood levels, was to entirely encircle the whole town. Well, you have the interstate runs right through the middle, the railroad comes to the west or the east, and so we had to block off the railroad, be ready to block off the interstate, and we finally shut down the interstate. We didn't block it off, but so the town was actually surrounded. The railroad was shut down. I-29 was shut down. It was very quiet out here. You know, at night you didn't hear any traffic on the interstate. You didn't hear any trains. It was just dust in the water. You know, some people anyway moved into town into motels because they had to go to work and they had to have their kids going to school. I think the school here was actually shut down for a while. It was a big impact, and people nowadays probably don't remember that. And then one of the most stressful things about flooding around here is that the Weather Service gives you a band. It might be here, it might be there, or somewhere in the middle. So you're sitting there, well, what do we do? What do we do? Is it going to be on the high side? Is it going to be on the low side? Is it going to be in the middle? I mean, how do you protect that? How do you unless you have permanent flood protection, you're just on your edge all the time, you know, in the spring. Well, if you don't have to deal with flood insurance today, you may have to tomorrow, because the maps are always changing, the regulations are always changing. But currently we had one friend of mine in town here that is going to sell his house and move to the lake country. He retired. And I think he had an offer on his house, and they found it had to pay flood insurance. And I think it was something in the range of $4,000 or $5,000 a year. Well, that's dead money for people. They can't deduct it. It doesn't improve the value of the house. So they found out they had to have flood insurance. So they give a counter proposal, which was, I think, about $100,000 less. And some people figure their houses are probably going to be unsellable. A lot of the older people that want to retire and move to a smaller place because they can't handle the property anymore, they're going to be, you know, faced with selling their property at a very low price, and the people that buy it are going to be paying really high flood insurance, and it's something that doesn't go away. We don't know where it's going to go. Is it going to be $10,000, $12,000? I mean, I don't think it'd even be feasible to own a house. All the communities I've been involved with permanent flood protection, you know, the flood insurance is so much a year that used to be kind of minimal, but still at the lower cost. People could say, well, that's going to go away. I mean, not the flood insurance, but the special or whatever they have to pay for the project is going to go away after 15 years or whenever it gets paid off. The flood insurance is just out there and it just keeps rising. So it just doesn't make financial sense to me to have flood insurance, other than you're required to have it if you have a mortgage. Because if you're paying those high premiums that are looking like they're going to be in the future and continuing, it doesn't seem to make financial sense. It's so difficult to protect this community without moving a lot of houses. The interstate, you have the east side of the interstate, there's a row of houses on the interstate. I imagine they would have to all be moved where they're low enough. I mean, you'd have to build a levee through there. And then on the west side, you'd have to completely ring that in. And then along the river, you'd have to buy out a number of houses, probably 7. I think we bought out 2 already, or 1, along the river. So by the time you get done with the flood control project, you'd have an expensive project with a lot of houses missing, a lot of people missing. And that's kind of counterproductive for a community. There would be a lot of problems with real estate values. I don't know if we'd end up being a community where people own houses and they just have to rent them out because they can't sell them. It would be a pretty bleak picture, I think. I just hope that we can be protected. I mean, I don't know what would happen to this community if we aren't. I know people want to come here and live here. It's a nice small community, surrounded by ag land right now, and your kids can play on the streets even, and people don't have to worry too much. I mean, it's just like a small town, like a lot of people grew up in. So I know people really prefer to have their kids live here, and I'd just like to see it continue to be that way.